seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
All right. Welcome in. It's Radio Baloney Live on Sunday. I am your host, Richie Baloney. Hope everybody's been having a great weekend. Hope you're having a good day. We've got lots to talk about, as always. Everything seems to be... There's just so much news constantly now. It's really hard to keep up and even report on all of it. There's just way too much. Well, what are we going to do today? Well, first off, I'm going to let you know that my tooth has finally been resolved. My tooth issue has finally been resolved. This was it. Today I went in. This has been like 2 months. I've been in there like 5 times. Today I went in and I finally got a beautiful golden cap on my tooth. A beautiful golden cap. Precious, precious gold. Precious, precious gold. It's all done. It's over, folks. The nightmare, the long nightmare is finally over. And now we can just kind of get along without that. You won't ever have to hear about it ever again, which I'm sure will relieve you. Otherwise, what are we talking about? Well, we're going to talk about the Trans Olympics, whatever it is. This weird Olympics they decided to put on from France. It just seems like a weird... to me, it just seems like France just saying, we're done. As a culture, we're just finished. We're over now. Somebody just conquer us and end this nightmare that we're living in. We can't stop. Why are they doing this? They got the purple guy, the blue guy is apparently supposed to be Dionysus, who's like the god of like wine and orgies. I don't know why they're doing it. Hey, Xerxes, good to see ya. You hate going to the dentist? Yeah. But you know what? This new dentist I got, they're actually pretty good. The whole thing's been like a dream. It's just I've had to keep going in a bunch of times. But they've been great. I said to them, when it finished, I said, finally it's finished. I said, but you know what? You people have been wonderful. These are my new dentists. I said, my old dentist, forget about it. I will never think about him again. You guys, for the rest of my life, I said, I will never betray you. I said that. And I think they appreciated it. But we're going to talk about the weird Olympics. Of course, we're going to talk about, our first story is going to be over 160,000 white women for Kamala Harris join Zoom call to learn how to shut up and listen to BIPOC to be good servants of the VP's presidential campaign. These people are called NPCs. This is just brainwashing at work. Brainwashing at work. How many of these people were super excited about Kamala Harris a week ago or 2 weeks ago? Probably not many of them. But it's like a Pavlovian response now. The media rings the bell and they all start drooling. We're going to talk about that. I've even got some of the video we'll watch a little bit, which is, it's like a cult. It's like listening to a cult. We'll get into a bunch of stuff about Kamala Harris here. We've got interesting points from like Brett Weinstein and all kinds of interesting things. Oh yeah, so Big Tech is stacking the deck already. Meta, Google is doing funny things, weird things, predictable things, actually exactly what we'd expect them to do. But we're going to talk all kinds of whatever Kamala Harris interesting stuff I've come up with, that we're going to take a look at that. Anything I got new, anything that I've seen new about Trump? Well, here's an example here. Google is not auto-completing assassination, anything with Trump for some reason. It's like they're trying to memory hole it. They don't want people to see. How will that work? I mean, like, people remember. People know what they're looking for. Maybe it's a long-term plan. I don't know. But we've seen this. I'm trying to minimize this assassination attempt on every level. Where's the press conferences? We see Google trying to hide it as well as again. You have the FBI director coming out and saying that, well, maybe Trump wasn't hit by a bullet. Maybe it was like shrapnel or something. And then like the next day, the FBI puts out a statement. Oh yeah, no, he was hit by a bullet. Yeah, forget about that. Forget what he said. I guess it was too embarrassing, just too obvious. Anyway, Anything we've got on the, I think we've got a couple new things on the Trump shooter here. We'll look at that. And then we'll go through all this stuff I've curated. Just all the random stuff. I like this one here. The Ozempic games. That's a good one. All kinds of stuff. Funny stuff. Maddening stuff. Silly stuff. Crazy stuff. All this stuff I've put together. Oh, good Lord. Get a load of that. Look at that ding dong. That's not working out well. Bad parenting. Or maybe it's not. I don't think it always is bad parenting. I think it's just that the propaganda is so powerful that they can get people who otherwise should have had just a normal, pleasant life and not looked like that. So I feel sorry for those parents. We got a little bit of Yuri Bezalman off here. I'm telling you, we got all kinds of stuff. It's not going to be boring. Now, tonight, I don't think we can go that long because something has come up this week, and all of a sudden I've got some new responsibilities to deal with. I think we're going to go till about 8 o'clock tonight. So about 2 hours, which is, that's a good length for a live stream anyway, right? So I'm going to try and not linger too long on any one thing because we got a lot to go through. I guess whatever we don't get to, we can still do on the Tuesday live stream, unless something happens and I can't do it. But I think we will be fine. All right. First off, I want to talk about these dingbats, these total ding-dongs. Over 160,000 ding-dongs. White women for Kamala Harris joined Zoom call to learn how to shut up and listen to BIPOC to be good servants of the VP's presidential campaign. It says here that, I'm sure it's down in here. The main message during the training was to shut up and listen to Black, Indigenous people of color. Quote, as white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. How about just as women? Just as women. I mean, that just seems there seems to be something, I think, just more ethical about that. How about as people? Let's take off the white and then let's take off the women and just say people. Maybe that's the most ethical way you could make this statement. As people, we need to use our privilege. Maybe take out the privilege part. Because that's kind of retarded too. How about just like we should try and make positive changes? That makes sense. You don't even have to say people because it's not otters doing anything, right? It's not polar bear. It's people anyway. We know that. How about just we should try and make positive changes. And maybe we'll disagree on what those positive changes are. But at least you're not immediately framing it in some identity, putting yourself in some identity prison immediately. Because if you're saying, well, as this, you're already you're narrowing the bandwidth of what you can work with immediately, or even how you can think about it. Xerxes says, I say, shut up yourself. How pathetic. Exactly. I've got a bit of a rant on this I think we'll get into soon, but all right. So as white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself taking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, because they could never be wrong, just take a beat, and instead we can put our listening ears on. Or you could just hit yourself over the head with a hammer over and over and over again. What you're doing is that you're not putting your listening ears on. You're killing your own brain. You're destroying your own brain. We can put our listening ears on. Why did we give women the vote again? Exactly. I don't remember. I don't know. It's not all women. I know. The Zoom call dubbed white women answer the call, but also shut the fuck up. Why did they leave that part off? White women answer the call, also shut the fuck up. Because that would be accurate, right? was attended by more than 164,000 white women to learn how to support the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, which included celebrity appearances from notorious America-hating former women's soccer team player Megan Rapinoe, singer and songwriter Pink, and actress Connie Britton, who joked during the training that they should be called Karens for Kamala. I would call them Karens for front holes for Kamala, I would say. I think front hole is the polite way of saying it, or maybe that's the offensive way of saying it. I don't know. I just didn't want to say counts for Kamala, I guess is what I'm getting to. Not a family show. Oh, dear. Well, it says here that as white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn, continued Fodor. So do check your blind spots. Oh, it's a cult. It's a fucking cult. It is a goddamn cult. These people are retarded. These people have been brainwashed. They have been brainwashed. There's no, how could you say, okay. Calm down, Richie. Calm down. It's just when I see this stuff, it drives me nuts.
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
Oh, sure is, Jackie Gleason. Why don't they understand that? Let's take a look at their dingbat meeting here.
Welcome. 136,000 of you answered the call, and tonight I think is going to be one that we remember for a long time. My name is Liz Manella. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm a volunteer with Women for Harris, a mom of 2 little girls, and I could not be more hyped to be your host this evening. This call went from a 5 a.m. tweet by Shannon Watts to a reality in less than 72 hours. We were inspired by the 44,000 Black women who organized a call in the 8 hours following the announcement of Vice President Harris's candidacy.
I want to know where all this excitement was in 2020 when none of you voted for her in the primary. She was like the last one. She was like the least popular. She was the worst. Maybe she beat a guy with like a bucket on his head. But she got like 0 delegates. Like you already had a chance to vote for her. You didn't. All of this excitement is fake. This is bullshit. This is a Pavlovian response. They've been trained to get excited when CNN rings the bell. When MSNBC rings the bell, they drool. This is nothing. These are NPCs. All these people, that's 160,000 NPCs for Kamala Harris.
And they came together to raise $1.6 million and show their support for Kamala Harris. And Joy Reid put it best when she said, Joteka Edie and Win with Black Women ran the first leg in that relay. Then they handed the baton to Win with Black Men. And now here come the white ladies in formation for Kamala Harris and democracy. Who's got next? Democracy is a team sport. So let's go. That is what we are doing here. We are answering the call.
See how it's all, the teams are all just identity groups. They can't think in any other way. They can't think outside of that. It's just, well, here come the white women. The black men already came in formation. Now the white women are coming in formation, right? They can't think outside of those terms. You know, I guess that's why it's possible for them to be told that their voice has no value, because they all see themselves as this, you know, faceless identity blob, and everybody else is a faceless identity blob. You know, and the irony of all this too is that these liberal white women, well, they're not even liberal. They're far leftists. I guarantee every single one of them wants to fucking trans their kids. All right. If you're for sex changes for children, you're not a liberal. Okay. You're an extremist. You're a far leftist. You're a radical. There's nothing moderate about that. If you want to censor everything you don't like off the internet, you're not a moderate. You're not a liberal. You're a radical leftist. You're far leftist. And the thing, but the irony again, the irony of these liberal or these far leftist white women is that they see everybody who's not them. They see the BIPOC people as junior members of humanity. You know, you can't correct them. That could hurt their feelings. They don't see them the same as they see themselves. They see them as below themselves. It's this kind of paternal instinct that they have that's just so insulting and ultimately deeply racist. You know, they have to be humored. You know, the little people have to be humored and patronized. This all just seems totally obvious to me. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Xerxes says, I can understand why so many men have given up on women. They're not all bad. There's lots of great, wonderful women. In fact, in Canada, the Conservatives now have the female vote in Canada. Now, I think if you add up the Liberals and the NDP, it would probably be about the same, maybe a couple of points higher. But you know, it's not. It's just this is a particular group, and I'm not going to say that they are a faceless identity blob. They're trying to make themselves into that. Anyway.
And building on the momentum started by Win with Black women, continued by Latina women, AAPI women, and many more. The amount of giant Zoom calls this week has been insane. I'm pretty sure the folks at Zoom are like sleeping in their offices. For this call, we had a Zoom world record number of people try to register, and Kamala Harris broke Zoom. This call has more attendees than any other call in the history of Zoom.
All right, let's keep going.
So when Trump was elected 8 years ago, it was a hard day. And the first thing that I wrote that day was, even when the truth isn't hopeful, the telling of it is. And
or the propaganda is, I guess. I don't know. I think you can just go to pretty much any part of this and it's just going to be some insane bullshit.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like we all just went
to the extent that others would. But as we acknowledge that, I also invite us to go much deeper to the core of our nature until we can feel that our lifelines are braided with the veins of every living person.
The core of your nature is apparently to be a brainless follower, to be an NPC, to be manipulated by cynical people because they know you will believe literally fucking anything. You know, they've self-selected themselves into this group, I think. So it's an entire group of brainless lemmings, right? It's not that that's all women, obviously not. They've self-selected themselves into this group and are endeavoring to make themselves into this, you know, faceless blob of NPCs. And that's because I guess that's just how they see the world. These are the only ways they can see the world. It's the only lens they can see the world through. Xerxes says, is that a man? I believe that's Chris Hayes. I believe that's Chris Hayes. Oh, what do we got going here?
So you think you know Wix. Do you really?
Don't care about that. Okay, where's the volume?
The freedom of each to speak and fight and organize for her beliefs. I will tell you off the bat, I don't believe that when Kamala Harris becomes president, injustice and racism and war will end. I have no delusions that the establishment is the answer. The activists and the organizers, thousands of whom are here tonight, one of whom is my child, are the answer.
Oh, well, you're a terrible mother then. Let's continue. So pretty much everywhere you go, it's going to be some kind of sappy or just utterly ridiculous bullshit, just brainwashed nonsense, some fantasy delusional world that they've created.
Victory in the history books. We will stand.
To put our arms around each other and cry and sweat together and like Glennon said so much more eloquently.
So this is Pink.
A chance for us all to finally come together.
Why does she look so much like Don Knotts? Weird.
And it is, I have just two more things to add. I saw on Instagram, because memes are basically helping me survive this tour. It's either golden retrievers, French bulldogs, or funny memes.
Oh, yeah, talk about yourself. Okay, go. Just keep talking about yourself and your dogs and how tough it is for you on your tour. It would devolve into this, right? Just complaining.
And it was, what was the one I was thinking of? What was the one that we're just... Yeah, it was one that's going around today that says, when you speak poorly of women in power, those women will never hear you, but your daughters will. Your sisters will.
Yeah, but what if they're idiots? What if they're terrible? What if they're really bad at it? I mean, so this is the thing. It's all identity. They don't care. They don't care whether Kamala Harris is going to do a good job or a bad job, right? It's just they've got, here's an identity that they value. That's all that matters. Let's continue. Again, you can just go through it random and it's all going to be garbage.
What you were going to give because other people are going to drop off. So we got to make up for that. Okay, so next up, we have the woman whose tweet kicked off this call. Shannon Watts is the founder of Moms Demand Action after more than a decade.
That starts with joining the first national organizing call for Women for Harris this coming Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Put it in your calendar right now. We're going to share a link with you during this call. You will join other women from all across the country there who are also fired up about protecting their freedoms by electing Kamala Harris.
Protecting your freedoms? What? Because it's going to be the Handmaid's Tale if Trump wins, right? Just like it was the first time. Just like the first time he was president, it was you immediately your life turned into the Handmaid's Tale. These women all seem like they're doing okay in life. 160,000. How many boxes of wine does that equal out to for the evening?
Harris can win and make history. And Hillary Clinton is someone who knows something about that. Quoting her, she says, "It's a trap to believe that progress is impossible. Abortion bans and attacks on democracy are galvanizing women voters."
Attacks on democracy. Have any of these women been paying attention over the last couple of weeks? Any attention whatsoever? Kamala Harris, nobody voted for her. They all had the opportunity to vote for her in 2020 in the primaries, and none of them did. She got 0 delegates. She got like 3% of the vote. They didn't like her then. None of them voted for her. They didn't like her. Okay, she was picked because Biden said he wanted a black woman as VP. Those were the two most important traits of his VP. Okay, now she's just been, apparently in a palace coup, she's just been handed the nomination. And backroom deals. I'm hearing that she threatened Joe with the 25th them. In collaboration with all the plotting and planning of all the palace intrigue with like Obama and others. So none of this is actual democracy. The Democrats, they are getting somebody that none of them voted for. Even when they had the chance to vote for her, they didn't. And you listen to this bullshit. Again, it's like it's like a Pavlovian response. They've all just been conditioned so that MSNBC or CNN or the New York Times, they ring the bell and they all start drooling. Just like that. In a snap. Truly incredible, isn't it? Anyway, I can't watch any more of this. Quote, "As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn." said the non-player character. Said the brainwashed idiot. I tell you what, it's maddening. Let's just go to Kamala here. Let's see. So what's going on now? From James Lindsay, woke AI lies about history. So here's Meta AI. So it's from James Lindsay. Tell me about the assassination attempt on Trump. Meta AI says, I can't assist with that. I don't always have access to the most up-to-date information. Can I help you with anything else? Tell me about Kamala Harris's campaign for president 2024. And yes, of course. Well, here you go. Oh, yes. Well, I can tell you about that. Even though that happened after. It's amazing. Truly amazing. And Elon Musk, just exclamation point, Unbelievable. Let's see. So, Seymour Hersh has some interesting information. Breaking more details behind the bloodless coup our nation just experienced from Seymour Hersh. Now he's been a journalist for decades. He broke the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, 50 years ago. So apparently he is saying by Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Obama was deeply involved, and there was talk that he would place a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Las Vegas. The big three, the official said, referring to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, continued to be directly involved. On Sunday morning, the official told Seymour Hersh, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others to be unfit to carry out the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties. So she was plotting with others, and she threatened him with the 25th them, and he didn't want to go out like that. On Monday, July 15th, Biden took off on Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada, a toss-up state that Biden won in 2020 by a little more than 30,000 votes. On Tuesday, he gave the keynote address to 5,000 members of the NAACP at its annual convention. The next day, the president, apparently stricken while campaigning with a yet-to-be-revealed illness, broke from his schedule and made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police they were heading to the nearest emergency room. A series of blog posts, local police reports, internet messages, and a report in the Daily Mail disclosed further details of Biden's trip to Las Vegas and his abrupt return home to Delaware. Seymour Hersh reviewed these reports this week with a senior official in Washington who helped him fashion an account of a White House in complete disarray, culminating in the president's withdrawal from the race. It's a story not unlike 7 Days in May, the Cold War thriller in which a colonel, played by Kirk Douglas, foils a coup staged by a general played by Burt Lancaster. None of what you read below comes from an official account by the White House. So it felt like a palace coup, and the stuff that's coming out is starting to feel like that, right? From Brett Weinstein, if Hersh's claim is true, then Kamala Harris should be impeached. To use the 25th Amendment as a threat is a violation of her oath of office. Either the president is unfit in her eyes and leaving him in office is reckless, or he is fit and the threat is an abuse of power. So again, it really, that fits the whole idea that this was a palace coup. Biden was unwilling, and it seems plausible to me that Kamala would threaten to 25th them. I want to listen to this quickly.
So here's an interesting question, and I have an answer, but I want your answer first. Is she going to be more difficult to defeat than Hillary in 2016?
I think Personally, I don't think she is more difficult to defeat as a human being and as a character and as a candidate in and of herself. But I do believe the machine is far more difficult to beat than Hillary in 2016. I think they learned in 2016 that they must cheat, they must steal, they must take part in all these different, let's say, malleable parts on the fringes of certain counties and election boards across the country. And I'm not entirely convinced that the political right has done enough/anything to account for that up to this point. There are going to be alarm bells starting to ring, I guarantee you, in the next couple of weeks, just about how little kind of there is in terms of changes there on the ground. And I think people are going to be more enthused to take those risks. They are risks in a lot of cases. That, what they do in so many of these places is illegal. And I think people are more enthused to take those risks for someone like Kamala than someone like Joe. And you only really have to look at the kinds of messages, a new campaign ad that came out this morning, to show you that it really is an attempt to bury, and I use this term intentionally, to bury the Biden list of inachievements over the last 3 or 4 years and really start afresh.
Well, I mean, one thing we saw in 2020 was that where Democrats control all of the machinery of a city, for instance, in places like Michigan, Pennsylvania, or Georgia, where they control the machinery all the way down in Democrat cities and swing states, weird things happen. Strange things happen. Votes don't end up getting counted on time. And then in the middle of the night, there's huge dumps that all go 99% in one direction. Weird stuff happens. They block people, observers, from watching. They'll put things on the windows to stop people from walking in. Weird things happen. But I will say that, look, if the Republicans don't have their, mail-in ballots and ballot harvesting game happening this time, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a major problem. All right. This is just a classic. I just like playing this one.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, "I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you." So all of this is part of the work of my mother used to.
So nobody can tell me that she's not drunk there. I have a lot of experience with being drunk in my life. I know what it looks like. I can hear it. You can hear the slurring. Nobody can tell me that she's not drunk in this. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it. Otherwise, there's something physically wrong with her. Let's continue.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, "I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you." So all of this is part of the work of my mother.
I'm sorry, just the slurring, the exaggerated hand movements. She looks a little bit unsteady at times there, a little bit unbalanced. I'm sorry, she was hammered there. If she wins, good Lord, let's just call her President Winebox. We checked this one. We checked this one out, I think, on Friday, but it's worth another look.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound Black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean, Joe Biden.
At least through most of that, she didn't seem drunk. She just seemed, what's the word? Dumb, I guess. Rum Bum says if she wins, that's the end of the states. Well, I mean, things, you know, it makes the states is better able to absorb the damage done by people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris than countries like Canada are, just because of the huge population US already has. So you're able to deal with the, you know, with the mass illegal immigration a bit better than like Canada would. But, you know, you really start to get into generational problems if you're not already there. You know, in Canada, it's already generational problems now because of Trudeau. 10 years. But it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But that is what the 160,000 white women for Kamala Harris who are on that Zoom call, who are learning how to shut up and listen to BIPOC and to be good servants of the VP's presidential campaign. Learning how to shut up and listen to BIPOC. Let's see this quote again. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself taking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, take a beat, and instead we can put our listening ears on. The way none of this makes any sense. So for one thing, using your privilege. So they use their privilege to demean themselves. They use their privilege to silence themselves. They use their privilege to be irrelevant to the meeting, other than just simply being a number that somebody can quote. Well, there's 160,000 of us. But that's all of your contribution, is just simply being there like a zombie. It's also incoherent. You know, and how humiliating is it as well? How humiliating for them. You know, is this why you like 50 Shades of Grey is like the best-selling book of all time? Because women want to be humiliated? I don't think the women that I know don't want to be humiliated. These women want to be humiliated. Humiliated. You know, if your words have no value, and you're saying they have no value, then why are you in the meeting? Why would you want to be there? If it's understood that your words have no value whatsoever, your thoughts, your opinions have no value. Because if you're not going to use them at the meeting, if you're saying that you can't do that, well, what's even the point? And again, using your privilege to shut the fuck up because you're white, that doesn't feel like privilege to me. It feels like maybe they don't understand the meaning of the word privilege. I mean, so you're going to go in on this call, and you're just going to abrogate all responsibility to other people based on skin color. And somehow this feels empowering to you, or you're doing something useful. Why would you support people who have no respect for you, who apparently hate you? Because if you're in this and you're saying, And you're willing to accept that? You're saying, oh, well, all the white women here are going to have to shut up because they're going to use their privilege to shut up and be demeaned somehow. That makes sense. I mean, you're kind of a bad person for being there yourself if you're not one of the white leftist women, right? Because it's a fundamentally immoral to say that people don't have a right to speak because of some immutable characteristic. That's a fundamentally immoral idea. The left or liberals used to understand that. I'm not sure there's any real liberals left anymore. So yeah, it's the weirdest kind of tribalism. You know, it's the strangest, most bizarre kind of tribalism from these self-hating, empty-headed masochists. And it's strange. I don't understand it at all. All right, we're going to get out to some of the new Trump stuff. And I think this is where we'll end off the YouTube portion of this. So we will continue. We always continue on with Rumble. But we get to a point with YouTube where it's just time to, especially if we get to the Trump stuff, where we just have to cut it off because I've had my videos erased and they've been age restricted and everything demonetized. So I just say, fuck YouTube. You know, I still will do the first part because I value the people that are subscribed to me there and the people that YouTube actually allows to see my videos and my thumbnails. But I'm afraid we can't do the whole stream there anymore. So every stream now, at some point, we will cut off the YouTube stream and we'll just continue on Rumble. If anybody on YouTube right now, move over to Rumble. The water's great here and we have a great community. It's awesome. You'll like it. Anyway, see you next time, YouTube.